Aigan can translate as Hill of the Clefts. I've exaggerated the elevation here because I think it gives a good feel for what this wonderful little hill is like on the ground. It is quite small compared to its neighbour Ben Rinnes, just appearing on the right of the screen there. For me, this walk always starts at the Brig. It's impossible not to stop for a while and enjoy the River Spey and the view, and to feel the rich history of the area in both human and geological terms. The Brig. There is a story behind how it got its curious name. The first bridge across the Spey stood at this area and dates back to medieval times, reportedly to the 5th century, and possibly built by the Romans. It was the first and only bridge across the Spey for hundreds of years. Later records from the 13th century record how a bridge and a nearby hospital of St. Nicholas were funded by local people, the bishops of Aigan Cathedral, and the tolls from the bridge. After the Reformation, both fell into disrepair and the bridge was washed away sometime in the 1600s, to be replaced by a ferry for the next 200 years. So the area of the river that had for 1,000 years been known as the Bridge of Spey now had to be crossed by boat, the Boat of the Bridge. So when a new bridge was finally built in 1832, it became known locally as Brig. The bridge here today was built in 1952 and the name became official. The grand old toll house from 1832 still stands and is now a Grade A listed building. The railway bridge was constructed in 1858 and the metal span was originally of wrought iron box plate design, similar to what can still be seen on the Findhorn Viaduct outside the town of Forres. The stone arches are still the original 1858 brick structure. The old box plate span was replaced with the current steel truss span in 1906. This old photograph is pre-1906 and shows the original box plate span of the railway bridge and the 1832 suspension road bridge, which lasted for 120 years. If the build dates of 1831 to 32 are correct, then these incredible old photographs taken during its construction must be some of the oldest in the world. They predate the first commercial camera by several years. From here it is almost 2.5 miles to Malben. Then another 1.3 to the forestry road to the car park. I'll put a Google Maps link in the description. Just a couple of years ago there were many well laid out and maintained mountain bike trails here, but when forestry operations began it was unpromoted and now many tracks are gone or have fallen into disrepair. There are still usable trails, but disregard the many old YouTube videos that show how it was. Most of the bright tracks you can see here are forestry roads. Some are new and best avoided. The first section of this walk takes us to a point where we can take a shortcut through the trees. When emerging from the forest, keep left, then left again onto the old track upwards to the tree line, then a fork in the path. Rightwards is more scenic and I think it's just a better approach to the summit. There is a circular option to descend. If you want to visit the viewpoint, then continue southwards. Then return by the way shown here. To visit Knockmore, Avoid the shortcut through the trees and stick to the forestry road, then all the way round and back to the car park. Aigan is an island of quartzite, uplifted by the collision of continents 400 million years ago near the equator. Weathered and eroded as it drifted north to colder latitudes, where in the last million years more than a dozen ice ages have shaped what we see today. Huge ice sheets, glaciers and torrents of meltwater carving out the hill and its clefts and the Spey Valley that it overlooks. On a clear and sunny day, some great views can be had of Spey and of the Moray coastal plains all the way over to the North Sea. Okay, I've got a curiosity here. Can anyone tell me what caused these concentric circle markings on the ground? My first thoughts were maybe there'd been a structure of some kind, but that seems unlikely. Could it be something in the ground, like a fungus? I know that some mushrooms can sprout in similar circular patterns. Also, what happened to the war memorial cairn? There are reports of it being moved or scattered, and it certainly is not what it was. It commemorated the 6 RAF servicemen who died here in September 1940, when their Armstrong Whitley P5006 bomber crashed in cloud on a training mission out of Kinloss. I'll leave some links in the description if you want to know more. If you want to make your way to the viewpoint, then head towards Benrinnes. For the last 50 metres you'll be lucky to find bits of a path, so it's mostly just wading through knee-high heather. Knockmore Transmitter Station, built around 1960, to bring television to this part of the Highlands. Updated to digital now, of course. A short path does run round the back of the mast to the summit of Knockmore Hill.